welcome to Mo's World, the baseball podcast. We're excited to bring you our latest episode. Your feedback is important to us, so please feel free to share your comments. If you enjoy the podcast, spread the word to your friends. In our 11th episode of Season 2, let's talk about the injured list. Oh, man. This is getting ridiculous, right? So, here it is. We've hit opening day. We're a week into it. And we have approximately, actually, this is the number going into today's games. I'm sorry I produced this a little late. I'll tell you that later in the show. But we are sitting at an unbelievable total of 268 players starting the season on the injured list. Now, we've got players already out for the season, including Jordan Montgomery of the Diamondbacks, Ben Heller of the Cubs, Drew Thorpe of the White Sox, Chase Hampton and Gerrit Cole of the Yankees, Joe Musgrove of the Padres, and many more. Geez, what's going on with all these injuries? You know, I thought players came to camp ready to go, just getting ready, but they're sore from obliques, elbow pain, biceps, the undisclosed general soreness for the pitchers. Now, some of these teams are really hurting. We're going to just run through this quick in alphabetical order. Now, the A's are sitting pretty. They've only got 2 players on the injured list. And they're both pitchers. And they were both, they didn't even know if they were going to be on a roster at a point. So they're looking good. Arizona Diamondbacks, they have 9 players on the DL. The Atlanta Braves have 7 players. And, they're looking for Ronaldo Lopez to come back. Ronald Acuna Jr., Joe Jimenez, Sean Murphy, Spencer Strider. So they've got a lot of everyday starters on that list. The Baltimore Orioles have 13 players on the injured list, starting with their starting shortstop, Gunnar Henderson. They've got their starting pitcher, Grayson Rodriguez, on it. And they've got Albert Suarez, a relief pitcher, on that list. And Colton Cowser just entered the list as well. So they've got a lot of players too. The Boston Red Sox, 10 players on the injured list. The Cubs, 7 players. The White Sox, 10 players. The Cincinnati Reds, they have 10 players. The Cleveland Guardians, 11 players. The Colorado Rockies, 6 players. The Detroit Tigers are on the list with 14 players, and they're leading free agent acquisition. Gleyber Torres is on it. On March 31st, the Tigers placed Torres on the 10-day injured list. And, that's a big list that they got. It's incredible. The Houston Astros have 12 players on the list. The Kansas City Royals are looking good with only 7 players on the list. The Angels, 6 players on the list. And surprisingly, the one that's always on the list is not. So let's see what develops with the Mike Trout syndrome of injury. So we're starting good. I know he's got a chip on his shoulder, and it probably started with my podcast. If you haven't heard episode 10 from last season, we talked about Mike Trout and if he's finished. So it's still a hot topic in my book. I'm a Mike Trout fan, but if you don't play the friggin' game, you don't put up any stats. Pretty easy as that, right? The Dodgers, most hated team in baseball. They've got 13 players on the injured list. The Miami Marlins have 11 players. The Brewers with 10 players. The Twins with 6 players. The Mets have 15 players on the injured list. And then you would say, that's got to be the most. Yeah, but the crosstown Yankees have 16 players on the list. Holy crap, they got everybody from DJ LeMahieu, who I believe has a reservation for this list. Devin Williams is on, but that's only a paternity leave. Clark Schmidt is on the 15-day injured list. Alan Winans. They also have Tyler Matzik, which was a great pickup, and he's on the injured list. Forget about Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, this list should be called the Stanton list, like we want to change the Mendoza list to what? What do we want to change it to? I hope you're saying it. The Yucca line. Got to keep that in mind. The Yucca line. No longer do we want to call it the Mendoza line, right? All right, getting back to our list. The Philadelphia Phillies have 3 players on the list. Holy shit, that's like nothing. The Pittsburgh Pirates have 9 players on the list. The Padres with 7 players. The Giants with 7 players. The Mariners with 7 players. The Cardinals with 6. Tampa Bay with 9 players on the list. The Texas Rangers with 8 players on the list. But surprisingly, their career leader in injury list appearances, Jacob deGrom, is not on the list yet. So we'll see how that goes in Texas. Over in Toronto, they have 9 players on the list. And bringing up the chart, we've got the Washington Nationals, and they have 8 players on the list as well. Now, like I said, they're all on this list for varying reasons, but, makes me wonder if the training regimens are just too much. Is it really necessary for the body to work nonstop all these months? How can a body recoup? If players are starting an off-season program so fast, the injuries are predominantly towards the pitchers as well. A few of the abstract elbow and oblique injuries for the everyday players, but mostly it's pitching injuries. When I look into the injuries, only a few are game-related, like I said. For instance, we talked a little about Colton Cowser of the Orioles on the EIL, and he fractured his left thumb sliding into first base. I call that a real injury, right? So he's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks, missing the opportunity and making the team and making a starting role. That's what I see as a problem here. We've got a lot of younger players not, missing their opportunity. And then we got a player like on the opposite end, Max Scherzer. He's on the 15-day injured list with a thumb injury. Thumb injury, right? That's a little different for him. He's another that will not start 20 games this year, but we'll see. The Tigers missing the acquisition of Gleyber Torres, like we said. He's on the injured list for the infamous oblique injury. Now, this is the one injury that kills me. How does a major league player get an injury such as an oblique strain? Now, if you're a professional and you're taking swings each day and you strain your oblique, I find that incredibly odd. Sorry. Me going into a batting cage for the first time in 5 years, I'd expect to pull an oblique injury. By the way, I know this has nothing to do with injuries, but I did like hearing that the Padres just recently signed their 21-year-old Rookie of the Year outfielder Jackson Merrill to a 9-year, $135 million contract extension into 2034. Now, that's an incredibly smart move, and it only makes you wonder, will the Cincinnati Reds try to lock up their star, Elly De La Cruz, as we suggested in our last podcast? Now, the injury thing is pretty extensive this year, but like I said, I'm noticing teams that are having younger players impacted by injuries, which are delaying their development or the team plans for the roster. I want you to try to check out the injury list. You should be able to scope it out on various resources. Just look at the sheer amount of names, and it's grown since opening day. Well, I myself am on the injured list as well. I'm currently home recovering after my hip replacement surgery. I'm looking forward to some much improved mobility, and I'm in a little discomfort sitting in my studio right now, so we're going to keep this episode a bit short. Thank you for joining us for the 11th episode of Season 2 of Mo's World, the Baseball Podcast. Our regularly schedule for new episodes is every Friday, with each episode lasting approximately 20 minutes. We appreciate your support and encourage you to share the podcast with your friends. Our next episode will be released on Friday, April 11th, as we look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, ask yourself, whose world is it? It's Mo's World.